Welcome to Into the Metaverse, the NFT Netwrk podcast. For those of you not familiar, we are a platform designed to showcase unique projects who aim to drive innovation on the Solana blockchain. We provide project verification, data tools, a launchpad, and other valuable assets that help individuals looking to innovate and achieve their goals.
Yeah, let's get started. So give us an introduction to what Galactic Geckos is for anyone who isn't aware.
Sure. Yeah, Galactic Geckos is an immersive NFT project. We started off very strong. And we're transparent about, we are first and foremost, an art collection, but paired with the physical art, we have lore that goes along, creates this experience where if you own an NFT, you really feel like you're a part of our journey. And there are multiple aspects to that, and we can talk about that later on in the interview. But we want you to come along with us to be a part of this. And to contribute, right? So, we started off with 4 factions, right? That's sort of the core of what we do. There's Allura, Targari, Barada, and Martu, and each of them have different characteristics, different backgrounds. But really what everybody saw is that the goal is to bring everybody together. And the first thing there was you were going to discover what's behind this garage, which is home to this 5th or lost faction. Right. And so we introduced that. We think it was a big success. And we're excited to tell you what's coming next.
The Geckos. And how did you come up with this idea?
Yeah, so we felt there was something missing in the Solana NFT ecosystem at the time. Since there've been a ton of great projects that have been introduced, but we still feel like, we have a stronghold in what we do. But basically, we felt like we could bring a superior product to the market. We thought that the Solana Monkey Business project was the punks of Solana. But again, we felt like there was something missing and that we could have our own. And again, even if we launched on Ethereum, for example, we still felt like we really stood out in what we do. And I think if you look back at Ethereum NFT history and Solana NFT history, when we launched, there wasn't really anything like us. And I think that even you can solidify that by looking back, and there have been a lot of projects who have tried to emulate what we're doing, right? So I think, long story short, we're bringing this immersive experience with a story, and you can look at that. So, for example, all of our geckos have traits just like any other project, but every part or every trait that we have, every asset, there are about 150 assets of the geckos, even those have a backstory. So again, we're trying to create this experience where you really feel one with your gecko. There was inspiration there from the Bored Ape Yacht Club. I think they did a great job of really, you're one with the ape and your ape is one with you. And so with the geckos, we wanted to take that a step further to where you're really connecting with your gecko. And we've done that in multiple ways. Like I said, the trait lore, as well as the overall story lore and where we're going.
So Draper, I actually have a specific question for you guys, because the reason why I got involved in this project because it reminded me a lot of my childhood. I was a big Rugrats fan growing up, and
Sure.
when I saw your project, this literally reminded me. I saw this and I was like, "Holy shit!" This reminds me of the Rugrats, and like I don't remember what the dinosaur his name was, but I'm very curious as to Lil Ape already asked what inspired you guys to move forward with this, but I'm curious about where the vision came from, like what made you guys decide, hey, it's gonna be geckos and we're gonna roll with it, and this is gonna be our thing, and this is the thing that, we are going to bring to the world. What made you guys decide on geckos, the art style, everything that you guys kind of decided to run with?
Yeah, so that's interesting. I've never heard the Rugrats comparison. I'll be honest with you. But as far as the geckos and sort of our feel and vibe, we wanted to do something that was very specific to Solana and the vibes that Solana put out. So I think that when I look at Solana, and personally, I think futuristic. I think space opera. I think just a huge galaxy where you can go anywhere and do anything. And I think that was a big inspiration behind Solana. Personally, I don't think that something like like the Bored Apes wouldn't work well, right? just from my perspective. So yeah, we wanted to do something more futuristic and spacey, if that makes sense. But as far as the details, we just, we worked as a team and just, brainstormed, came up with. So I think the first thing was the name, right? So um, we wanted to feel like it was an exclusive club, and we felt, Space Garage was just a place where people could come out, hang. To us it fit right away, and from the name, a lot of the other ideas were. The name inspired a lot of the other ideas.
Most
Awesome.
definitely.
So, so you mentioned that, you guys kind of got together brainstorming what you guys wanted for the name, the lore. How many people are on your team? How many people are involved in, the day-to-day operations of the Space Garage?
Yeah, so full time, we have 4 to 5 who, this is, we're all in. 4 to 5 of us are all in. Other than that, we have maybe three, 2 to 3 people who, this is sort of their side gig, so they contribute in their own specific ways. I, personally, I've in conversations with other projects, it's sort of in the middle, right? Like, so I know of a couple of projects where it's 2 to 3 people. I know of projects where it's like 10 to 15. So I think we're in a sweet spot. And the important thing, for us is that every single person on our team contributes to a specific area. We all have our specializations and we work together very well. There's not too much overlap. Because I think it's so, for example, if you have 4 people who, specialize in marketing, there's going to be a lot of, bottlenecks and difficulty coming to decisions. But, for us, we're in that sweet spot. Everybody knows and are experts in what they do. And that helps us move forward very quickly. Because as you guys know, as a crypto project, things have to move extremely fast. And just the fact that we have, 1 to 2 people in each area, we can make decisions quickly, move forward, execute, and we hope the community feels, our urgency in delivering, what's next.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about your artist because you were saying that you wanted to make geckos something that hasn't been on the Solana blockchain yet. And you guys have clearly done that. I mean, the geckos look very unique. Every single one of them has immense detail on each attribute. So can you talk about the artist a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. So the artists that, and I'll start out. We've had multiple artists contribute to Galactic Geckos up to this point, but as far as the original 10K collection, the artist was Gossip Goblin. He's great. I was the one that found him and had the initial conversation. Of course, the predecessor to Solana NFTs were Ethereum NFTs, and Gossip Goblin had a few projects that I was interested in, namely namely Monster Blocks. And do you guys know anything about Monster Blocks?
I do not.
No, so they were a little bit different. Like, they had utility. You were creating a tower of different NFTs. And I really liked his style. And, again, the team created this idea, Galactic Gecko Space Garage, and what we wanted it to be. And we thought that Gossip Goblin would be great at bringing this to life. So we came to him with the idea, the inspiration, and he really helped us bring it to life. So yeah, I mean, he's been great. He's worked with us closely, and he's since ventured out and has had his own project, and that's great. We support him in doing what he's doing. But yeah, short story long, he helped us bring our vision to life.
I gotta say, people love the geckos. I mean,
Oh,
ever
yeah.
since I joined the Discord, I bought my gecko. I think when the floor was around 29, so I came into the party a little late, and I joined the Discord. And right when I joined, I got so much love from the community. Everyone was tagging me, saying welcome, and answering any question I had about the lore or about the way things worked. And I gotta say, the geckos have such a strong community. So I was hoping that you could talk about what you did to build that community and what you think that you did differently to create such an engaging community.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I wish I could pinpoint it to one specific thing, but I do think it's a multitude of things. I think we launched at the perfect time. There wasn't much out there Especially, and I'd speak to this as an NFT ecosystem as a whole. I think we're very different in what we do. I think very early on, we were very transparent about who we are, what we want to do. And I think that's powerful because the community latched onto that. Of course, there were some people early on, they didn't like that we said, first and foremost, we are an art collection. And that art consists of multiple things, right? Like, yes, the gecko art, but also the lore, in essence, is art. The community and their contributions is an art form in a way. So I think, first and foremost, our transparency early on helped people who really aligned with us as far as what are the core values of NFTs. They latched onto that. But again, even so, like there are people who are joining late, or it's not late. We've only been around for 2 months on the long side, right? But yeah, it's interesting. So we have a bot that when you join our Discord, you verify with great protocol. We have an announcement that says, "Hey, welcome, welcome, Trap to the Gecko community," and everybody just is super welcoming. And I really, really do wish I could pinpoint it on one specific thing, but I can't. I just am amazed with the community and the support they have for new people coming in, and people who have minted. So yeah, again, and maybe that's a good question for people to for our community to chime in a little bit later on. But yeah, I'm in awe every day.
I mean, yeah, no, definitely. That's something that I noticed when I bought my gecko as well. Like, so many people were so welcoming, like instantly. Like, it didn't really matter, when I was buying in, what gecko I was buying. Because I know a lot of projects can get really in detail about, deciphering themselves up into little clans, which is totally fine. But I noticed that with the geckos, there was no such thing like that. Like, regardless of what kind of gecko I had, what attributes I had, everyone was, so warm and welcoming. And I have been a part of a lot of different communities, but this is by far one of the ones that I felt the warmest welcome to. And, I feel like that's something that geckos need to pride themselves on together is, because at the end of the day, it is about how tight knit and how strong the community is bonded.
Yes, 100%, and that sort of leads me into another sort of controversial subject. If you don't mind, we'll take a little bit of an aside.
No,
So
of course, go for it.
yeah, so early on, and so the hot buzzword right now, maybe it's on the outs, but at least somewhat, it is the concept of a DAO, right? And I know a lot of projects, on their roadmap, maybe very early on, is this implementing a DAO. And from my perspective, I'm not necessarily speaking for the whole team, but in my opinion, a DAO for us isn't super necessary right now, right? Because in our own core community and in our Discord, we have a very, very, very strong community, right? And I think a DAO would fragment things. I think it would take away from what we have in our Discord, and we're not going to shy away from, we're a very strong team and we're working to deliver. Again, we're super open to community feedback and direction, get tons of DMs a day, and we've implemented, community ideas and suggestions. But again, I'm sorry for the aside, but I think a lot of projects are sort of doing a disservice to themselves by, creating a DAO and fragmenting the community, especially when you have a strong team and a strong vision, right? So I'm open to your guys' opinion on that, but for us,
Yeah,
it's just not at the forefront of our vision.
I'd love to talk about that actually, because I agree. Because the thing is, with your project, what, in my opinion, engaged your community so well was the lore you had behind your project. And because you had such a deep vision and storyline that you have for the geckos, and you have such a long-term plan, it only makes sense that you guys lead the creation of the project and where the future goes. The thing about a DAO is that if everyone in the community is involved in making the decisions, it might pull away from what your main objective is and what your main vision for the project is.
Right, 100%.
So that could become a problem.
Yeah, and I think there's there are certain projects where it makes sense, right? Like, so for Solana Monkey Business, a DAO was necessary at their point in time, and obviously they become a very powerful force in Solana NFTs. So there's a reason for that, and there's reason for others, but yeah, for us, it's just not necessary at this point in time. There could be a time where it's super beneficial, but for now, we're working on strengthening the Gecko brand, first and foremost, we're working on building the community, and that entails a lot of things, and we're working on a lot of cool things that maybe a DAO would get in the way of.
And something that I think that's a very interesting point, because like you just said, Solana monkey business, right? At that point in time, there was a need for a separate governing body. But when you don't necessarily need it, it's like, okay, we have a DAO, but what is the purpose of the DAO aside from just a separate channel for people to communicate? And do we need a DAO? How will this help us, bring the vision or move the vision that we've kind of established ourselves? How will this help us meet our goals down the line? Are we doing this because we see it as something necessary to help enrich our brand and sort of, create a deeper connection in our community? Or are we doing this just because every other project is doing it? And I think that you guys not, pushing forward to establish yourselves as a separate entity, as a DAO, and sort of focus more on the longevity of, the space garage. I feel like that's something that's very important, although it may be contrarian. I think that you definitely have your reason for doing that.
It is, and at our time at Breakpoint in Lisbon, there were people who they felt the same way, but at the same time, it's contrarian, and you don't want to make that opinion public, right? Because if you broadcast that message publicly and it's contrarian, there's going to be pushback, and most people don't want that. But again, we're very confident in our vision. We're confident in who we are, and we're going to keep doing what we're doing.
Something I wanted to add on that subject. DAOs are very early right now. And what a DAO is for a coin is different for what it should be for an NFT. And you guys still have, so it's very arbitrary on what a DAO should be. You guys have the verification that's required. You need to have a Galactic Gecko to be part of the community. I mean, not the entire Discord, but to get the extra benefits. And so it's very up in the air on what a DAO should be at this stage and how it should gatekeep an NFT community. So, yeah. So, one thing I wanted to also add about your community, you guys have had a 50 Solana floor price. Your project pumped all the way up, and it ended up dumping all the way to, I think your bottom was around 7 SOL last week. But despite all that, your community has stayed strong. You guys have kept building, and you guys are showing your strength. And I think what I saw last week was you guys had a 500% increase in volume. So the eyes are on the geckos still.
Yeah.
Can you talk about some of the hardships?
Yeah, I think what you just touched on is definitely a hardship. At least from from my feelings, I think there were different dynamics at play there, right? Because one of the first things that we had you do if you wanted to participate in the Gecko adventure was to own 4 geckos, one from each faction. And therefore that's going to create some upward pressure that wouldn't be there otherwise. So the apes, what they did, if you own 1 ape, you get one Bored Ape Kennel Club dog, right? So a little bit different dynamics. Price shoots way up, but then when the adventure is over, there are flippers who no longer, they made their money, they want to get out, and that's fine. We're 100% glad that people were able to make some Solana on this. Whatever they want to do as collectors, it's fine, no issues. But again, once it's over, people sell off and they move on. So yeah, from a hardship point of view, it's it's a little bit, it's sad to see somebody who bought in high and is discouraged. But we're going to keep delivering, and we feel in the long term that everybody's going to be just fine, especially with what we have planned going forward. So that hurt. And then so early on, and still to this day, one of the things that we want to do to set us apart from other projects, a little bit difficult on Solana just because of its infancy and the tools that developers have, but we want to bring development innovation to what we're doing. And early on, we had a little bit of difficulty for multiple reasons implementing this on-chain solution to track Gecko adventures. And we're still working on that in the background, and it's going to be a part of our project. But not being able to do that definitely hurt, and we feel like we let our community down in a way. But we're going to make up for it. We're going to keep going, and again, we're still working on technological innovation on the NFT side, and we're very excited to show everybody what's next in regard to that.
That's awesome, man.
Thank you.
I'd love to hear that you guys were still building despite everything that happened with the floor price. I know how discouraging that could be for people. I mean,
yeah, and we don't want to focus on that too much, right? Because one of the core values, of the Galactic Geckos is sustainability and the long-term vision. And
right.
yes, it sucks. But we've only been around 2 months. If you look at, the USD side of things, we're still up more than 10x, I believe. So, things are going well from our perspective.
Definitely. And the floor is just noise. If you're
Exactly.
building something long term, floor is just short term noise always. And it's not something to focus on. I personally am down on my Gecko investment, but I could care less about it. I mean, when you get access to the community, you get access to people. That's
Exactly.
in the long run.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The USD value is just one way to look at it, right? You're when you become a collector, you're buying into something more than just the temporary USD value, in my opinion.
And to really speak on that collector thing you just mentioned, I mean, the collectors are still here. I mean, if you look at the sales bot, you look at the volume that you guys are doing. I mean, I saw a Gecko sell for like well over 60 sold the other day, which is which is a lot higher than the floor price. There are people
Sure.
there's still people participating. We still got those active participants, and we still have people. I mean, the Discord is going crazy on a regular basis. It's not like the volume has come close to drying up. So that's something like what Lil Ape said. It's all noise at this point, and as long as the Geckos stay focused on their long-term vision, the sort of story that's just now beginning to unravel. I mean, the floor price is it's just going to follow. It's just going to follow the direction that the
Right.
overall collective and effort continues to head.
Right. Yeah, and we believe that strongly. In Lisbon, we had a lot of conversations, with power players, and there are other projects that might be ahead of us temporarily in regard to average price times the amount of NFTs in your collection. But it's very clear that people see us as number two. Regardless of who's in between right now. They believe in us. They believe in our team. They believe in our vision and what we're doing. So I'm very confident, especially after our conversations, with big time names in Portugal, where we're going.
And so that kind of leads to the next question that we have for you guys. And it's, how did you guys, go about getting the bigger players involved, like Anatoly, Trader Cause, Chimp Zoo? I mean, even Crypto Cred was rocking a Gecko at some point.
Yeah, so I think some of those names they're close with the team. We've been in crypto for a long time. It's 2016, 2015, and we're all very personable. We look for connections and people with like-minded visions and personalities, and that just led us to friendships with people like you mentioned. But as far as people like Anatoly, who's rocking a Gecko as his profile picture, from Brett from FTX US, who's now using his Gecko, I think they all see that we're very professional. They see our long-term vision. It's hard for them to use something like, and I'm not trying to throw any shade out there, but if you look at a project, and I'm going to eat shit for this, but if you look at something like DJ Apes, I think their launch was, as everybody knows, it was a little bit botched. They handled themselves maybe not in a way that we do, and other professional teams outside of the NFT space, just in the Solana ecosystem as a whole, they want to align themselves with people who share similar values, right? And again, and if like DJ Apes, they've carved out their own niche. Like they are who they are. There's nothing wrong with that. I own a couple of DJ Apes, so nothing wrong with what they're doing. But again, if you're a professional team, if you have this long-term sustainable vision, you're going to want to align yourselves with similar people within their own sub-industries. So that's my answer for that.
Yeah, I just want to throw out Crypto Cred is like my OG crypto mentor.
Oh yeah,
I learned everything from him. So shout out to Crypto Cred. And I think like having those people in your community really gives other people that are in the community the confidence to stay with the Geckos, because it seems like people really attach themselves to one or two NFT communities and then kind of make that their, I'll call it a metaverse identity, because that's what it is. Twitter is a metaverse in itself. But people really attach themselves to their PFP NFT, and seeing big people that are in this Galactic Gecko community really brings up some confidence for some of those people, and I understand that.
definitely. Yeah, 100%. And I don't know if you guys were tuned into our panel that we did in Lisbon, but that's the whole thesis that the team has is, the cultural side of NFTs and how it can really penetrate. And the first layer of that is people using an NFT as their profile picture, and they see the endearing qualities of what that is, and it leads you into crypto. It's sort of a gateway drug, right? And the first step is getting people involved in this profile picture identity, digital identity side of things, and we want to be a whole lot more than that, and we can touch on that in a little while, but it's definitely a good introduction to where we're going.
I completely agree. I mean, that's my whole thesis for NFT Network. The way I see NFTs is the best way to bridge people into crypto. I've been in crypto since 2016. And I've tried to get all my friends to get invested, kind of cop some coins and really become a part of it. But it's almost impossible. They've always looked at me like I'm crazy. But it wasn't until NFTs and they're like, oh, I can buy this. I have ownership. And it really creates an easier bridge for people to get into the ecosystem.
For sure.
I recognize that. And so what our goal with NFT Network is to really help people have a voice, to give voices to the projects that are innovating, to different artists that are creating something, and really just push NFTs forward and crypto forward together.
Exactly. And once somebody is in NFTs, they can discover stuff like DeFi. But yeah, I guess that leads into something else. A lot of projects, NFT side, they're trying to be both an NFT profile picture project, but also they want to introduce DeFi elements into their project. And the team shares this point of view, is that that's not really the right way to go. There could be a lot of issues, especially if you're selling to American investors. And I know nobody likes hearing these things because it's flooding their bags or it's short-term elimination of gains, whatever you want to call it. But for us, I can tell you we're not going to introduce any DeFi elements into our project unless there's a time and a place for it. But just introducing a token short-term is gimmicky from our point of view, and it just, yes, you might get some short-term gains, but long-term it's just not worth it.
And I think you make a very interesting point, but something I kind of want to highlight is regardless of whether it's DeFi, regardless of whether it's, getting the mainstream to sort of dip their toes in Solana or whatever it is the token may be, I think at the end of the day, we all have the same goal here. And what it comes down to is mainstream adoption and onboarding the masses and really heading in the direction where crypto and crypto assets become something that we can all consider mainstream.
Yes, and that's an important part to me too. Is like we're all NFT connoisseurs. If you're listening to this spaces, most likely, and yes, it would be cool if the mainstream got into crypto and so say Web 2.0 project like Reddit. They created a bunch of NFTs, right? And yes, it's super awesome that the average mainstream user of Reddit is going to come across a Reddit NFT. But I think what we're all excited about is the crypto culture. So geckos, so SMB, Dejan apes, the crypto native culture going mainstream, right? So to see, just a friend who you never thought would be into crypto, use an SMB as his profile picture. So that's a big part of what I'm excited about.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so excited where the space is going because one thing I like to say is crypto moves fast. I mean,
Oh yeah.
Crypto moves so fast, but NFTs move even faster. And the ecosystem on Solana has just been evolving so fast. What flew last week in this regard with mints doesn't fly this week, and what flies next week will not be what was the standard this week. And we're just constantly evolving and constantly moving. One thing I wanted to touch on based on what you said earlier about the kind of gimmicky NFTs that are introducing coins and DeFi. I personally don't have a problem with those. I think it's like a project per project basis on where that makes sense and what application that should be. But I do like to see some NFTs kind of integrate that into their system, into their utility, because it does provide, yeah, it might be for quick term gains, but it does provide people with some of the foundational education that it takes to be part of DeFi. and to yield farm and things like that. For an example, we've had DeFi land on here. I've also been getting very familiar with DeFi Kingdoms, which DeFi land and DeFi Kingdoms are kind of both doing a similar thing where they're looking to gamify what it is to yield farm and kind of be a part of the DeFi ecosystem. So I think that's one innovation that goes forward that people can really benefit on. And if you think about it, like I got started in crypto when I was, I think, 16 or 17 years old. Most kids that get involved in NFTs are probably around that age. I mean, a lot of people getting into NFTs are a younger crowd, and them getting exposed to those type of tools early is just going to lead our future forward, because eventually they're going to become the people that are moving our space forward. And having that introduction is amazing.
I somewhat agree with that, but my counter would be, why can't there be synergies between a DeFi project and an NFT project? Why does an NFT project need to create their own DeFi elements? Where, like, if an NFT project is doing that, if they're selling their art to an American investor, for example, I know we're probably a little bit a ways from this happening, but it puts the whole NFT ecosystem at risk. And again, unpopular opinion, but it sort of bastardizes the space. And we again, speaking from a sustainable vision point of view, we don't want that to happen. We don't want the SEC or whatever body to take a very close look at what's going on in NFTs because a project thinks it would be a good idea to securitize what they're doing. So again, just my point of view. I'm open to others, but for us, we're going to stay away from stuff like that.
Oh, definitely. I definitely see that argument too.
I think it's really important. I think it's very important and shouldn't be overlooked how precautionary you guys are being from such an early stage. That really makes me feel comfortable and makes me very confident in the fact that you guys are going to continue to build and innovate the geckos, because a lot of people are very short-sighted and they're like, yeah, fuck it, we'll give royalties back to our holders. But at the end of the day, what that does is, if you are in the United States, you are going against the laws of the jurisdiction that you live in. And so, from speaking from a sustainable standpoint and a long-term standpoint, that really isn't, the creators of the project aren't doing that at the best interest of their holders.
Right. Yeah. And like the project itself, the team doesn't necessarily have to be US based. It's just like in their initial distribution of NFTs are Americans buying in. And I think in almost all cases they are. Right. So that's where the issues come from. If they're distributing their NFTs to American collectors, we don't want to do that.
Let's move the discussion a little bit away from DeFi and let's move it back to geckos a bit. So one thing I wanted you to really go in detail on and give people that are listening to this space and the people that will be listening to this space outside of Twitter on our podcast, I want you guys to go hard on your lore. I want to hear the whole story.
And something else, to go a little bit off of what Lil Ape said, obviously the lore is very important, but I would like you to also go in detail about what stage in your guys' timeline, and more specifically lore, that you're at right now.
Sure. So just in quick summary, so far what has happened in our lore, we've had these 4 factions. They all didn't get along necessarily, but they had to come together to solve the first issue, which is opening up this the garage of a lost faction. Nobody really knows too much about what the lost faction is, what their purpose is, but we did learn upon opening the garage of the lost faction were these droids called Concordians. And again, all this is public info at this point, but the Concordians were programmed by the lost faction to send signals to the faction leaders. And the faction leaders, there's of course 4 factions, 4 faction leaders. The 4 faction leaders you basically told the geckos beneath them that, hey, we are no longer warriors. We're going to solve our issues via the interstellar relay, which is basically racing. So that's where we are right now. We know that the Concordians are sending these signals, but the geckos that solve this, they still don't really know where the lost faction is, what they plan on doing in the future. Are they geckos? Are they something else? We don't know. So that's where we are. And this week we are going to introduce the next storyline which is the journey to discover we found the Concordians, but the Lost Faction isn't here. What's next? So that's going to be introduced very shortly, and maybe people had an idea in our community that was coming, but this is the first time publicly that we're saying this is next. The Lost Faction there's going to be a journey to discover the Lost Faction.
Wow, man, that is so exciting. Like, it's so awesome. I mean, the fact that you guys have really crafted this intricate story to keep so many people involved, because so many different NFTs, they launch and they don't necessarily have as intriguing of a backstory. I mean, I'm literally sitting in my living room. I'm looking at the Discord right now, and I cannot tell. I mean, you see it yourself. So many people are so excited to hear what you guys have in store, and that cannot make me as a holder any more bullish on this project, regardless of the floor, regardless of everything, from a monetary standpoint. Like, it is truly exciting to hear that you guys have put so much time and effort. I mean, not to shill the Geckos, I mean, I know that you guys are on stage here, but if any of you guys have taken the time to go on their website and actually read through the story that they, have so intricately put together for anyone to go and see, I mean, it's truly fascinating.
Yeah. And so something that we've introduced pretty recently, so of course our lore exists, and the main method of consumption was if you go to the lore channel within the Galactic Gecko server, all of it is listed in chronological order. And so something that we've implemented recently, we sort of piggybacked on gaming studios like Blizzard, like Epic. What they've been doing in conjunction with their game is they have game lore, and they present it in a very similar fashion no matter what studio it is. So if you go, and I can post some links later on, but if you scroll through their lore, we tried to emulate that. So if you go to our website and you click on lore, just the way that we presented it publicly to everyone, just scroll through there. You don't need to necessarily be in our Discord, but go to our lore page, and the whole story is there, and we feel that it's a good asset to have. And so in the original conversation that we had, and I had this conversation with somebody personally recently, is that number one, should the lore be available to somebody who's a Gecko holder and not to an outside holder? Excuse me, I'm sorry. But, I think we're all of the mindset that, like, the lore is just out there publicly, and we think it'll draw people in, just like, like yourself. So we don't want to make it a holder exclusive thing. We want people to read it, be involved, see the power of it, and with the ultimate goal of joining the community as a Gecko holder.
I think that's a very good call on your guys' end. I mean, at the end of the day, you can't, in my opinion, you guys can't work super hard to produce this really detailed story and save it only for holders. Obviously, holders are going to be benefiting because they get to, experience and be a part of that story. But I think that part of what's drawing people into your project and drawing people to really get curious and say, hey, what are the Geckos about? Is, I mean, the backstory you guys have crafted behind it. I mean, it's so detailed. Like, I think that I personally don't think that that's anything that you guys would want to, or would be in your best interest to withhold from the greater,
Exactly.
audience that you guys have.
It's one of our best assets, aside from our community. And we're going to keep making it available for the foreseeable future. Maybe we could do things like, there are exclusive holder only, lure drops, but it's not at the forefront of what we want to do. But I just want to allude to, I said the way that we are presenting our lore now. Well, there's the Discord, but there's also the lore on our website that's presented in a way that traditional gaming studios present their lore. I don't want to tell you too much, but just based on that alone, I think you can foresee what's going to happen in the midterm. I know that's vague. It's very vague, but don't want to tell too much right now.
I'm looking forward to see what's to come.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say your Discord is popping off right now.
Good. I love
Every single person is spamming the Discord like it's mint day right now. Yeah. I just want to say I am my Gecko, and my Gecko is me.
And it's
Draper.
Yeah.
I had sorry to cut you off, but I had one more question in relation to your guys' lore. So I'm guilty. I mean, I haven't been too involved in the, as things have unraveled. I haven't been too involved in the process as the lore has started to unravel. But I'm really curious to see, like, what role or significance do the Geckos play? I mean, not the Geckos, excuse me. the Enigma crystals play in the storyline of things as things sort of begin to unravel?
Sure. So the inspiration of the crystals, we'll be very open about this. The inspiration of the crystals were the prime keys from Parallel. If you're an NFT, or if you're an Ethereum NFT connoisseur, you'll know a lot about what prime keys are in the Parallel universe. So that was our inspiration, and as you know, there's a lot of importance stressed on that. And so the first thing, you needed a crystal to open up the garage, right? And that very quickly gave you a concordian. And so there'll continue to be things like that. I'm hesitant to tell you too much more, but you're going to want to have a crystal, to get the most out of the gecko.
Should you own one crystal per gecko that you own, or do you need to have a 1-to-1 ratio?
It just depends on it's not necessary, no, but of course, just like if you own multiple geckos, it's proportional. So I'd say 1-to-1 is a good thing to go after at this point in time.
Okay, I see. Yeah, I was very happy to see that I got airdropped the crystal. And I'm very happy to see that I got airdropped the concordian too.
Yeah, and that leads me into something else. Again, controversial subject, but we're not going to shy away from any of that. It is like you can't please everybody, right? Like so one of the first things that we did is you have to own 4 geckos, and that might have, if you didn't mint, and you bought in, after the price went up, it took a little, you had to have, a little bit more than most people to participate. And of course, there are people who, they can't allocate that kind of Solana to this, but we've learned that like you can't make everybody happy. We're going to try maybe to look at a little bit different dynamics. We have a plan. We're going to stick to it. I don't want to say too much. I'd focus on like a 1-to-1 gecko to crystal ratio. And just in conversations with the team and the community, we feel like that's best. Again, we're not going to be able to make everybody happy, but we have to stick to who we are and what our plan is, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, you really can't make everyone happy no matter what you do. There's always going to be people that have opposition to anything. But the thing is, you're the leader of the project, and sometimes you need to draw the line and you need to say what's going to go.
Right, exactly.
And you can take people's opinion into consideration, and then you go forward with your decision. And that's the way it should be.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's your guys' project. You made it for the people, and you obviously have to take your stakeholders into account. But at the end of the day, you have to do what's best for the project, and for the project to keep moving forward, and for the project to remain as successful as it's come to be. And I mean, I know it's corny to say, but like, it's hard. With great power comes great responsibility, and you need to, it's corny, but it's tough, and when you're making decisions, when so many people are going to be affected by that decision, you obviously have to listen, but at the end of the day, you have to do what you guys think is best, because at the end of the day, it's your guys' blood, sweat, and tears.
Sure. So. Yeah, for sure. And again, we every DM that we get, we try to be very attentive and responsive. We're going to keep doing that. But you're right. We have what we think is the best direction going forward, and we hope that you join us. And if you disagree, that's fine. We'll hear you out and try to make accommodations. But yeah, we 100% agree. Like, we have to do what we think is best.
I mean, you could tell them to just sell you all their geckos for 10 and fuck off.
Fuck off. Yeah, I wanted to say that at 7, but it was a little insensitive.
That's where I started buying more. Can we circle back to the concordians?
Sure. Yeah, happy to.
First off, I mean, I'm a very busy guy, and I'm in so many Discords that I don't really get to the chance to get updated on everything that's going on. So I saw the concordian land in my wallet, and I had no idea what it was and what it was for. Then I found out it was for the geckos, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. But what do they do? The first question is, what's the purpose of the concordians? And my second question is, or just answer the first question first, and then I'll go to the second question.
Sure. So within the lore, what they do, they're products of the Lost faction. They're beaming signals to the faction leaders to say, hey, we're not going to be warriors anymore. We're going to solve our qualms via the interstellar relay, which is like a NASCAR or Formula One race. So that's what they do within the lore. as far as utility, they're it's very publicly known that there's not utility for them. But again, I'll sort of counter that with saying, if you look at any other companion drop, right? Because that's in essence what the Concordians are. They're a companion to the geckos, just like the Bored Ape Kennel Club was a companion, to the apes, the Bored Ape Yacht Club. So from our perspective, that in itself, the fact that they're such a central part of the story and what they do. So again, from our point of view, it's way more powerful than most other companion drops out there. And we understand that, so the geckos had utility, the crystals have utility. So why don't the Concordians have some, magical power that's going to get people gains? Like I get that. But at the same time, we feel that Concordians go above and beyond other companion drops. And it's super dope art too. So if you want to hold it, great, but we're not going to promise any utility that's going to get you anything, because you can only have so many gates to the next thing, right? So of course, like holding a gecko is the obvious first gate. Having a crystal is a central part of our story. We've said it's going to be something that you want to have, but if you're adding like a third gate to that, it just puts more restriction and complication to something that shouldn't be that. So yeah, we'll be the first ones to tell you that Concordians, they're a companion to your gecko. They're a part of the story, very, very central part of the lore. But don't expect there to be some magical utility that we create on the Concordians.
Okay, so nothing related to the Enigma crystals.
Yeah, the Enigma crystal got you a Concordian. They opened up the garage to give you one, but we're not going to create, we're not just going to try to create some useless use case to the Concordians.
Right.
They're just something cool to have, and just like the Bored Ape Kennel Club, like they tried to do something with the dogs, and honestly, it didn't go very well, and we want to shy away from that.
So you don't need to own a Concordian the same way you would want to own an Enigma crystal to get that.
That's right.
Perfect. One thing I saw in the community about the Concordians, I was just scrolling through Twitter, and I saw someone tweet that they bought a Concordian because they want to be part of the Galactic Geckos, but they don't have the funds to actually afford a Galactic Gecko.
And I think that's a great way to be part of the community, because again, the Concordians are a very central part of the story. Like before we even knew what the Lost Faction or what the Concordians were, we knew that the geckos were racers. They were not warriors anymore. They are now racers, and that's how they battle. And that is solely because of the Concordians and the signals that they're sending out. So I think it's a great way to be a part of the Galactic Gecko ecosystem if you don't have the means to obtain a gecko.
Awesome. I love to hear that, and I love to see that that's inclusionary for people.
The only thing now. So we've had a couple of just very like informal votes as far as should a Concordian be able to grant you access to the space garage, which is you have to own a gecko via Grape, right, to get access. And we've had a couple of votes, and it's been strong no's. Like if you own a Concordian, you can't be a part of that. And so we're thinking about things like creating another channel, but again, back to like the DAO, like dilution of the main community. It's hard to justify that right now, but maybe if you make any other NFT gains and you have a Concordian, like the goal might be to get a gecko. So again, I'll say it's a popular opinion because most of our community does not want Concordian access to the main chat.
I like that because it gives the Concordians it gives them kind of an introduction to the community. It gives them like the feel of being part of the community. They see some of the stuff, especially if you're make to like a side channel for them that they have some access to parts of the Discord. But it really drives them forward to kind of save up and get to the point where they can eventually obtain a gecko.
Exactly.
And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, just want to say I do have a hard cutoff in about 5 minutes. So one thing I want to say is that we are working right now on doing, aside from everything else, we're working on possibly having an event in Miami for Art Basel. So be on the lookout for some news there. If a gecko-specific event doesn't happen, we're definitely going to be there, and we'd love to meet everybody who's a gecko holder or Concordian holder. So just wanted to get that out there before we sign off. But do you guys have any last questions?
I'll also say that I'm Miami native.
Nice.
And that I was looking to host the NFT Netwrk event. So maybe the NFT Netwrk and the Galactic Geckos can co-host one together.
Yeah, we'd love to talk about that after our call.
Yeah, we'll definitely be crossing paths. So we look forward to getting familiar with your guys' team at Art Basel.
Awesome. Yeah. Likewise.
All right, everyone. I think we'll wrap up there.
Yeah, I can take. If you want to open it up, I can probably take a couple of questions. But yeah, just 7. I got to go.
Oh yeah. definitely. Anyone who wants to come up and ask a question, go ahead and request. We'll add you up here.
Babe, you the second. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that the wrong way. You should be able to speak now. What's up, No Face? How's it going, brother?
Yo, what's going? Getting a little chubby.
What's up, Cred? How's it going?
Yo, shout out Cred. I just
Hi,
want
can
to
you
say,
hear me?
I've never been in a space with you before, but I just want to say you've been my trading mentor since like, I think early 2017, late 2018.
Yeah, man, your courses on price action, I mean, they're what got us started early. So we just wanted to give you a shout out. Thank you for everything you do.
Mate, no wonder you're trading NFTs. My videos are fucking terrible. Anyway, a quick question. So one of the concerns, a misguided one, in my opinion, is that airdrops, quote unquote, dilute geckos. And there's this false causation that people have set up in their delusional minds that airdrops equals price go down. And that's like, an inextricable relationship. What I wanted to ask is, have you been put off from developing further gecko airdrop cool community mint stuff, whatever, by this, erroneous community reaction? Because my argument would be, look, the supply and demand, right? Their argument is that if you inflate the supply via airdrops, price goes down, I have to cry and I can't afford groceries. My argument would be, if you do airdrops, mints, whatever, like community oriented events which attract more buyers and make more people interested in geckos, then the quote unquote dilution kind of pays for itself.
Sure.
So, given all the controversy around how the market has reacted to, the fourth action thing and then crystals, pets, and all sorts of other stuff, what's your kind of mental framework for dropping stuff in the future?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a lot of it is a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like people buy in and they think it's going to dump, so they want to front run the floor, and then shit goes down and whatever. But yeah, we're definitely aligned with your thoughts there. We're going to keep building. We have a lot of cool stuff planned, and with what we have planned next, I don't want to toot our own horn, but it's going to be very different from what you guys have seen up to this point. Like, yes, in the Solana NFT ecosystem, but as the NFT ecosystem as a whole. And we think it's really going to contribute both to our growth and Solana. So stay tuned for that, but we're going to keep doing what we're doing. We're not going to shy away from just because that some members of the community think that it's going to dilute the ecosystem, because just the net product of what we're doing is going to add so much value to the geckos.
I mean, yeah, no, that's definitely a really important point. Like you'd mentioned earlier, a lot of people have over time become priced out of geckos. But what you guys are doing by providing airdrops like a Concordians, etc., you're giving people who otherwise would not have the chance to participate in your story and your lore. You're giving them that opportunity to really, be a part. And I think that that's really important. And rather than it being something that dilutes the your marketplace even more, I feel like it's something that even pushes it forward a little bit.
Right. And aside from like just the companion drops or the crystal drops, which, have added utility, what we're doing next is just, it goes beyond that scope. And I really wish I could say more, but please stay tuned, because it's very different, and it captures way larger audience than a companion or utility drop.
One last question before we have other people ask questions. Where do you see the Galactic Geckos in 3 to 5 years?
I see us as continuing to be a very strong brand. One that, yes, everybody within the Solana NFT culture recognizes, but one that, mainstream culture recognizes as a powerhouse in the crypto world as a whole.
I just wanted to say that is such a beautiful, touching space. Thank you so much. I'm quite emotional, to be honest.
Well, I'm glad I was able to come up here and make the community happy.
Yeah, I watched floor price go to 8 Sol. I was quite emotional as well, to be honest, probably for different reasons.
I have a question, actually. I hold multiple geckos. I've been holding since pretty much the start. I didn't get lucky enough to mint, but I've liked the lore and everything. One thing that I wanted to ask is, like, where do you guys see yourself in the metaverse in the upcoming years? Like, because I like when people say there's no utility to the Concordians, I'm like, well, there actually could be utility in the metaverse, right? You have this Concordian that follows you around, and it's your pet, right? You know what I mean? So there is a little bit of utility there, right? So
yeah, no, that's good. So what we're not going to do is build our own metaverse. We think there are major players in the ecosystem. Even if I know, again, unpopular opinion, but Facebook, right? Like they're building a metaverse, so there's no reason for us to go and try to compete and have
not building your own, my friend. But what about joining one, or allowing the geckos to be a part of whatever like Decentraland or whatever metaverse that we choose? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that would be totally
we're
cool.
super open to that, and we're working on different things to where it's going to fill a sub industry within the metaverse. Again, with what's coming next, we'll introduce it, and it'll make a lot more sense.
Cool. Yeah, and I just wanted to say, like, even with the floor going to 8 or whatever, it's still pretty strong for just the current climate of NFTs. But we're back in a bull run, so people like one of the things with the geckos is they retained like everything dropped, and I think that's what people aren't realizing is just like everything dropped, and it's just the market cycle, right? So, but I see a lot of
Right.
utility with the geckos. I love the art, man. You guys killed it, and glad to be holding some.
Well, yeah, thanks, bro, for your support. And I think I have to log off here, but I saw a ton of gecko pictures scrolling through the attendance list here. Thank you, everybody, for showing out. And stay tuned for the next few days. We're going to have some awesome lore drops and introduce you to what's next.
Thank you so much for taking the time to hop on the space.
All right,
I
thanks,
want to
guys.
thank you guys.
Yeah, y'all have a good rest of the night.
Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight.